Hi everybody, it's Johnson City Library story time, and today's book is very special because it's about a real person. And the title of the book is The Bluest of Blues, Anna Atkins, and the first book of photographs. Anna's mother died when she was really young, and Anna was born in the year 1799. Now let's think a minute of something we might be able to relate to in that date. Do you know what year the American Constitution was written? 1776. Anna's father, John, was a scientist. And since he was raising his daughter alone, he was determined that his daughter would get the best education at a time when few girls received any schooling at all. He was going to teach her the sciences, chemistry, physics, botany, biology, and of course, the name language of science, Latin. She is his beloved child, but also his partner in research. She too is fascinated by collecting specimens to name and study. On this day, she lays her flowers on the table and sifts through them closely to discover different leaves and petals. When Anna is 20, she becomes a scientist, a botanist. A botanist is someone who studies plants. And one day her father was working and translating scientific articles from French into English. And he realized that something was missing in this book. If it was going to improve identifications of all these different types of shells, it needed illustrations, it needed pictures. And he asked Anna to help. On this day, Anna was holding a long, curved, rigid shell, an elephant tusk shell from the Philippines. It will take her several hours to capture it in pencil. Anna's drawings must be perfectly lifelike as humanly possible. An engraver will copy her image into a printing plate for publications, and she has more than 250 illustrations to make. As Anna grows more, she has dedicated herself to creating an herborium, and that is a collection of dried plants. In a room filled with large storage chests, she uses a flower press to flatten and preserve seaweed, lichen, ferns, and flowering plants of the British Isles. That's a massive or a really big task. Each individual specimen, once flattened and dried, is mounted on paper and placed in a drawer for protection. She's proud of her herborium, but it's not accessible to a wide audience. Illustrating and publishing it would take far too long because she has over 1,500 examples. Anna thinks, if only there was a quick, accurate way to copy her collection. One morning at breakfast, Father places a wooden box on Anna's lap. He turns it around carefully. There's a slot at the top and a hole in one side where a circle of glass sits. A camera, one of the first ever made. And just to let you know how special Miss Anna Atkins is, in 1839, she was granted membership to the Royal Botanical Society in London, and which was one of the first institutions and few to admit women. And that was a wonderful achievement. Anna and her father spent many hours together experimenting. It was both exciting and hard work. The word photography literally means drawing with light. That's interesting, isn't it? Most of their endeavors require the strongest source of light known to man, the sun. None of Anna's early photographs survive today. The prints faded over time. But she is now acknowledged to be one of the first women in the world to take a photograph. In 1842, they went to visit a man, and as he was opening the door to Anna and her father, his hair was wild and a boa constrictor was draped around his shoulder. Sir John Herschel, the most famous scientist in England. And he shows them into his laboratory. While he's known as an astronomer, he has a far greater passion for experimenting. He especially loves to test the effect of sunlight on chemicals, and his work is essential to photography's development. Anna listens carefully as Sir John introduces his most recent discovery, the cyanotype print. This process doesn't need a camera, just two chemicals, paper, water, and strong sunlight. It's quick and simple, and the final image will never fade. Sir John explains that the prints will always be blue due to the chemicals used. He uses the process to make copies of his astronomy notes. But Anna, inspired, sees a different purpose for cyanotypes. She can't wait to get home and experiment. What's she going to do? She takes the two chemicals. She takes the paper outside and lays it down in the bright sunlight, and she arranges a piece of seaweed on the paper and places a sheet of glass on top. Waits a few minutes, removes the seaweed, and soaks the paper in water. Have you ever heard of cyanotypes? Someday we'll have to make some. There's the result. Look at that picture. Isn't it beautiful? As if by magic, the seaweed appears white against the bluest of blues. Every bubble and bobble, tendril and root, frizz and wrinkle is visible. Anna decides that she is going to make a book of cyanotypes and all her collection that she has saved for the world. She'll be the first to publish a book of photographs. And so she begins. But remember, you have to have really bright sun for cyanotype, and it's all too rainy in England. So she had a hard time. But look, here's some of the pictures from her book. And when she finished, Anna was so happy and so pleased. And the book was completed in 1843 when Anna was 44 years old. She has spent her life doing it. Of course, she wanted to show her father, first off, the new book. And of course, it's dedicated to her father. And her work now was available for everyone. And it's called, just in case you want to look it up, Photographs of British Algae Cyanotype Impressions. And Anna had always loved poppies, and she had an idea to make a cyanotype of her favorite flower. Isn't that beautiful? And that cyanotype is in one of the world's greatest museums right now, the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. So isn't that a wonderful story about a young woman and what she could do a long time ago? See y'all next time.